Hi everyone, Igor from Vinousreverie, the shop for the adventurous wine drinker. Andis is going to join me in a second, and we're going to have a special guest today, Lorenzo Muslia from Andis Wines. We're going to talk a little bit about his background, the winery itself, the two specific wines that we're going to showcase on this show, and it should be a fun conversation. So we're about to have them join us. So the stuff you guys are always excited about. So I think we're gonna have a fun show today. All right.
Okay, he's coming in just a second.
There he is.
Hello.
Guest of power, and Lorenzo.
Hi.
Nice to meet you. This
Nice
is
to meet you.
Ano.
Nice to meet you.
Hi.
Thanks so much for joining us on our show. Appreciate it.
Oh, pleasure. Sorry I'm doing this from my garage office because my kids are still up inside the house.
Yeah.
And then more than a grown-up show will be a kids show after a little bit. So
we're fine. Yeah, our kids join our show sometimes, so it wouldn't be the first time.
Nice. So yeah, awesome. I'm excited. Thank you guys for inviting me.
Yes. So Lorenzo, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? How did you get into wine?
Oh, so how I got into wine, probably like from the joy, from the pleasure. You know, I went to college for civil engineer, and I knew it from the day I started that college that this is not going to be something for me. You know, I finished the college, and then after a while I said, nah, this is just boring. You know, I wasn't born to sit in an office and just do boring things. So thanks to my travels around Europe and some study abroad, and I always was introduced to wine. You know, as a European, one thing that diverse one culture from another, it's the food and the wine. So everywhere you go, you have something different. And for how generic wine might sound to a consumer, but actually it's so different. You know, it's like every corner of the world, they have their difference, and then that wine is good because it tastes better with that food. And so, well, first I opened a restaurant in Florence, and I was lucky that my restaurant became one of the top 10 restaurants of Italy. And it just became something so stressful to manage a restaurant and own a restaurant, because you're married to a restaurant. Like I'm pretty sure you guys are married to your business. You know, that's you do it 24 hours, you never stop. And so my first child was born 2013, and I said, all right, that's it, I'm done with restaurants, I'm gonna leave Italy. And me and my family moved to California. And to be honest, I wasn't so much introduced to Californian wine. You know, in Europe, you're lucky if you get a Napa wine and that's it, you know, or Sonoma if somebody sent it to you across the pond. So when I came to California, I was so intrigued by the wine business and by the freedom of making wine in California. You know, I grew up in Florence and Chianti, you know, very well at how difficult you have to apply to all the rules and the dominations and everything. So kind of like for me, California was like the Wild West. You know, you can do whatever you want. You can make wine from French grapes and Italian grapes and put them together. I said, this sounds fun. But at the same time, I love the industry more as a business part of it. So I enrolled myself at Sonoma State University for their wine management and business. And then I was in Sacramento, was where I live. I had a few glasses of Andis wines that I did not work for them before, and I love them so much. And literally, I think I camped in front of their building. I said, I want a job for you guys, or I'll never leave from here. But yeah, so just to respond to your question, what pushed me to go into the wine industry, I think was curiosity and the pleasure of drinking wine, and the willingness to learn more about not just how it tastes, but as well what is behind. I mean, you know very well that a wine is the finished product, but you go back 100 hands. You know, by the time we open a bottle of wine, there are at least 100 pair of hands that have touched that product. So from grapes to soils winemaking and bottling and everything. So I always was curious. I always had a curious mind, and that's what I always wanted to know. It's like, and then from them became a job, and then from becoming a job, I became a partner at Andis Wines, and now this is my business. Now this is my other child. So.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, thanks for sharing. That's fascinating.
Yes. So just to jump on that, so can you kind of talk a little bit about Andis Wines and the mission statement behind the winery?
Mm-hmm. So Andis Wines, it's a European-driven style of winemaking. You know, we oh, my semi-on.
I'm just showing those off. Keep talking.
Yes.
Yeah. So for us, for Andis Wines, our goal is to make European style wine in California with respect with where we are at the same time. So varietal correctness,
yes,
and sense of place. Those are the two things that we don't negotiate with. Those two things, like it's either that or we don't put the juice in the bottle, you know. And then for us, it's been a curse and a blessing at the same time, because not everyone knows where Amador it is, and those that know, they think first thing comes in mind is Zinfandel.
Yes.
And tonight we're trying two white wines, not even red wine. But mission statement again: varietal correctness, sense of place, balance, European-driven and food-friendly wines. I come from a restaurant, and I love to eat and I love to drink, and I don't conceive these two things separately. You know, for me, it always has been a symbiosis, and that's what I try. And is to be is something that you buy to drink it. You don't buy to just keep it on your cellar. So easy, simple, food-friendly wine, balanced wine, and driven by freshness and acidity. That's sorry, my answer is not with one statement, with one sentence, but this is literally, it's hard to pin what exactly it is. But I think varietal correctness, I would say, if I had to pick one of all the varietal of the statements.
Yeah, no, I think it makes sense. So you mentioned how Amador Valley is not that well known. So can you give us a little introduction to Amador Valley? What separates it, let's say, from maybe Napa Sonoma, the more famous California location?
Yeah.
Northern. Yeah.
What makes us different? I think it's the diversity of grapes in Amador County right now. You can find over 160 varietals to make wine out of them.
Yeah.
So, like, literally, you take the alphabet of the grapes and you just close your eyes and put your finger in one varietal.
Yes.
And you can find it. I mean, yesterday, somebody offered us assortique, and I said, like, wait a second, you know what?
Yeah.
So Amador has the freedom and the foothills, not just Amador County, because Amador County is just one fraction of the Sierra foothills. The Sierra foothills, it's a long region that starts from just below. Yeah.
We've got a high-tech situation here.
Yeah. So yeah, it starts from like almost like on the bay, on the north is Lake Tahoe, just a little bit below Lake Tahoe, and goes almost on the foothill to the Yosemite. So it's a very long region, and that long, and the shape of the region has created these different microclimates and different different pockets that you can grow pretty much everything. You know, think about an European varietal, and then you can find it. You can find Iberian varietals, Apenninian, like Italian varietals, French varietals, and then they all grow very well. And there are only two grapes that don't do very well in our region, and thank goodness, to be honest, it's Chardonnay and Cabernet Sauvignon, because those are the two grapes that, personally, you know, I mean, I love my wines beside those other two. So that's the uniqueness of the foothills, because you come from a Europe trip, you know, you visit France, you visit Italy, you visit Spain, and then you can find a wine that you can relate to your trips. And as a matter of fact, I mean, what we're drinking right now, the Cuvée Blanc, that's it's been my goal to make a wine with grapes that I love so much drinking when I travel to these countries. So I love Portuguese white grapes and
Yeah.
Spanish white grapes. So Arinto for me, I think we are the only fools in California that make Arinto. So and I love Chenin Blanc. I love Semillon. I love Vermentino. You know, but obviously I'm Italian, so Vermentino for me,
Yes.
beside the blood, it runs in my veins. So
Yeah.
it's my
Great.
summer blood.
Well, as you,
So-
as you were mentioning, Vermentino, obviously in Tuscany and in Sardinia are the two famous places that I know that specialize in the grape. Arinto, yeah,
Correct.
it's a grape from Portugal. Chenin Blanc, Loire Valley, I mean, Vouvray like the most famous spot. So yeah, you guys are sampling the whole European
Mediterranean. It's a Mediterranean trip, and it was perfect
Yeah.
for COVID because we could not travel anywhere, and my imagination went through this glass of wine to all the places that I missed traveling in person. So, and actually, not that far ago, somebody asked me like, "How would you describe this wine?" And I said, "Close your eyes and think about your imaginary Mediterranean trip. It takes you pretty much everywhere. This glass takes you everywhere. You know, you get that crispness and that brightness that Arinto bring. You get that round oiliness and that the Semillon brings in that body. You get the Chenin Blanc. I mean, Vouvray. It's for me, it's one of the best grapes and best regions of the world to drink. But and as well Vermentino, that coastal, that salinity, that you know, I grew up when I was in Italy, and first thing we did when we ditched school, just get our motorcycles and run to the beach.
Yeah.
And on the way to the beach, we would stop to these small wineries, and you know, nobody IDs in Italy. I don't know. I mean, maybe have been 17, 18 years old. And then the first thing that the Vermentino, we would buy Vermentino grape, Vermentino wine, and just go at the beach, and maybe in the afternoon catch up a fisherman and ask if they had some leftover from their sale of the fish, and grilled fish on the fire pit, and then drink Vermentino. I mean, that's like it's every time I think about Vermentino, I have that grilled fish smell that follows me. So it's amazing. You know, I love white wine so much. I mean, because white wine, it tells a lot about a winery and tells a lot about a winemaking, because making clean, crisp, fresh white wines, it takes a lot of attention to the detail, and that's why I'm so impressed even with the sake brewers, you know, with the master brewers that make sake. I mean, the attention to the details to make like the juice. And for me, white wine is on the same level versus red wine. You know, you always can come back. You know, you always can add a little bit of more oak, new barrels, and you know, you can always create that balance. And if I'm not wrong, the reason I met you and I found you online was because I think I emailed you. I wanted a Semillon from Argentina. Am I correct?
Yes. Yes, Mendel, which is a famous Argentina producer who specializes in Semillon. Yeah, that's one of the best Semillons in the world, 100% of the Semillon. So
100%. And I had the pleasure to send him our Semillon.
Yes.
After I tried yours, my consulting winemaking team as well works for them, for the Mendel family, and then I packed a bottle and sent it to them in Argentina, and for him to approve my wine, I was like, this is okay. It's like it's like LeBron James telling you that you're a great basketball shooter, you know.
Well, yeah. Well, you know, we have a couple of guests, listening to us because we do Instagram Live and Facebook Live. And one of our friends of the shop, Craig, he's got both of the wines. He picked them up just for the show. So yeah, I think he's enjoying this this blend as well. So definitely nice, crisp backbone. There's a citrus background and very clean. Clean in a sense that is just a piercing and precise. That's kind of the best way I could describe it.
Yeah, it's like I'm thank you for describing it for me. It's one of the things that people ask me at the tasting room is one of the most common questions at the winery, like, why don't you make a Chardonnay, or why don't you make a Pinot Grigio? Because like the first thing they heard, oh, your name is Lorenzo and you should make a Pinot Grigio. I said, no. It's so much, it's like so much beside Pinot Grigio and Chardonnay or Sauvignon Blanc, you know, so much other grapes. And the reason why we selected these varietals, it's because they when they're made correctly, they have so much to show, and in its own. You don't need oak, you don't need malolactic fermentation, you don't need other agents to make a wine taste good. And I like fresh, clean wines because I drink more than a glass of wine. And then if a wine is just starting to sit on me, I just get fatigued. You know, I love to be up and enjoy a glass of wine.
Well, so to transition, can you give us a little overview about the Semillon then? You know, obviously, Semillon is a more fuller style wine than the Famous Fields blend. It's kind of in a Chardonnay, I would say, spectrum in terms of body weight. And it's a famous grape of Bordeaux, and they also make it in Australia. They have famous Semillon. So, you know, kind of, you know, explain your guys' expression of it. Yeah.
Semillon is a beautiful story for us. In 2010, as we were building the winery, one of our contractors as well that own grapes, his name is on the vineyard, in the label, Bill Dullian. He was just complaining that he said like, and this was April. He said like, I got to work this weekend. And I said, well, Bill, what are you doing this weekend? It's Sunday. I got to rip up this vineyard. I said, well, what do you mean rip up? You're just getting closer and closer to harvest. I said, actually it was May. I'm sorry. No, I'm so sick. I planted this vineyard in 1970. I did not harvest it for half of this time and barely can get $2 out of this vineyard. And I said, and we told him like, wait a second. You're ripping a vineyard right now because you can't sell it. I said, oh yeah, I'm done. I'm going to take it off, plant something more simple and just call it done. And I said, no, let's make a deal. We told him, we'll ferment the wine. We'll harvest it. If we like it, we'll make it. Worst case scenario, you know, we can always blend it with a bunch of Sauvignon Blanc and call it, you know, wannabe Bordeaux Blanc, you know, Bordeaux, because Semillon, Sauvignon Blanc, they blend together. Yeah. As we were fermenting this wine, and this was an unknown. I mean, I love Semillon because I traveled through Australia. I mean, not traveled through Australia. I love Australia so much, and I drink so much Australian wine. As a matter of fact, my daughter is named Adelaide because I love so much Australia. So I knew a lot about Semillon, but Semillon from Foothills, it's like I didn't even know how to spell Amador. So it's like, so we start making the wine, and then the wine as it was fermenting was like this beautiful aromas and layers of fruitiness and citrusness that Sauvignon Blanc, that we never saw them in Sauvignon Blanc. So whatever trial that we were trying to do Semillon Sauvignon Blanc, it would not make it any better. So and I said, well, let's just make it as a single varietal. And then we went to the partner of the company as well, the investor. He was 70 years back in the time. He said, hey Andy, we're making Semillon. We don't know how long it's going to take to sell it, but we're going to make it. And he's like, we're making what? It's like, Semillon. It's like, is that the Indian tribe? No, like, no, those are the Seminoles. It's like the Semillon. It's like you had no idea what the varietal was. So, and a short story, 10 years later, master sommelier Peter Neptune picks this grape as the hidden gem of the world. Yeah. Not of California, but of the world. This is a 44-year-old vineyard now, head trained, like, you know, like the goblet, the bush farming, very low yields, 2 to 3 tons on a sandy soil, and it expressed so much the varietal on the California sunshine. Because it has that tropical layers, it has that oily texture, that bee wax, that orange peel, not as citrusy as people expect from the Sauvignon Blanc, but it has citrus layers more on the skin side. Yes. And then it's exactly as a good alternative to an unoaked Chardonnay. And for the first 5-6 years, this is how we educated our staff and our consumers. I said, if you like Chardonnay, but you're not a fan of the buttery of the Chardonnay, the Semillon is a perfect alternative to that. And since then, not only that we rescued the vineyard, but there have been several other wineries that heard about, and they've been on the waiting list to get a berry out of this vineyard. And we're committed to this. And actually, this morning, before I went to the winery, I stopped by the vineyard. I just had a glass of wine with Bill Dillion, and I said, "This is, it's such, when you see love stories with the vineyard, because these growers, they're not doing it for the money. I mean, if he had to rly on vineyard, he would not even make it to the end of the month. They're doing it simply for the love of the grape and for the love that they have for the soils and for the vineyards. And when you find growers that plant Semillon instead of Chardonnay, I mean, they're just loved more, because it tells you that how open-minded these folks are, even that we are on the neck of the woods in Amador County. But I mean, these people are so willing to experiment and do different things, and we've been blessed as a winery to be on that region and experiment with these things. And we had some failures like every other winery does, but the beauty of it is that whatever we do it with so much passion and so much love. And for us to see now Semillon, I mean, right now Semillon, you can find it in almost 15 states. And 5-6 years ago, you barely could find it in Sacramento, which is my neighborhood. So for me, it's been a joy. I traveled. I used to pre-COVID, and have the pleasure to sit in Atlanta and have a glass of my. The reason why I think Atlanta, because I have a friend of mine that just joined from Atlanta, and so that's why it came in mind. And be in Atlanta in Georgia and sit down and have sushi and a glass of my Semillon, and I am like 5,000 miles away from my home. I think that's the pleasure of this industry, and it's not about the sale. It's not about I made a sale. No, it's just the pleasure that you can travel, meet other folks, and teach them and tell them you're passionate about wine. And you know very well that wine people, they love to talk, and we love to eat very well. So
yes.
Oh.
So yeah, did we freeze? Are we?
I think so. I think the visuals froze. Are you still there now?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you are.
Yeah.
All right, sorry. So yeah, so Semillon for us, it's really it's our love, it's our expression of the varietal and the full sense of the winemaking technique. It's elegant, it's balanced, it's something that we recommend to drink it now if you're a fan, but if you want to let it sit down for a year or two, the wine is just going to get better and better every day.
Because Semillon is one of the relatively few white wines that could actually age for some time. It's
yes, it's like the Rieslings and the Chenins,
Yeah.
Made it correctly with a balanced acidity and with enough alcohol and at a good pH. You can have Semillons that can be 20, 30 years old. And I've been lucky enough to have some Australian Semillons that have been older than me. And the moment you open them, that bouquet and that fruitiness that come out, it's amazing. And once in a while, I'll go and open some of our cellar wines, like some 2010 and 2011. And then they're still alive. It's impressive that there's still the fruit comes out, like that beautiful pear or that orange blossom flower, those white flowers, they still come out, and it's quite impressive.
Very nice. Oh, so I think that was a great overview, Lorenzo. Thank you so much. Before we go, I think I want to mention about some of the grape varieties you're talking about, because I know you guys also make Chiampetino, which I was very pleasantly surprised to see. That's a grape that's from the Friuli region in northeast Italy, and hardly anybody else makes it. They barely make it, I think, themselves in the Friuli. So that's exciting that you guys have it. So I think what I want to ask you lastly is, I think you guys just opened up again for tastings. So can you give a little kind of overview of how people could find you guys, and if they can come and taste?
So we are about 2 hours away from East Bay, about 1 hour away from California, from Sacramento, and yes, we're open finally after arm wrestling with the county, and so we're open by reservation only with all the COVID protocols, and we applied a different style now to wine tasting. It's all done by flights. You sit down and you select your 4 or 5 wines, and they all come at the same time, and they have their cheat sheet of description, and a staff and educated staff will check in with you and walk you through and guides you of what you're trying and what you're tasting. So yeah, we're open. We're open 7 days a week. Weekends are the best because you get to pretty much to meet everybody from winemaker to owners. But every day is a good day to drink wine.
Awesome. Hey, Lorenzo, thank you so much for joining us. It was a great overview. I mean, so much fun listening to you, kind of your passion behind the wines and the winery and the food. Yeah. Well, top 10 wine, restaurants. I mean, maybe you can send something over to us, like a to-go.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks so much for joining us, Lorenzo. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me, and have a good rest of your night. Take care.
Thanks, everybody. Take care. Stay safe.
Have a good day.
Bye.